Elden Ring. Is probably one of the best video games of all time. In 2025, a spin-off game, Elden Ring Night Reign, was released. When the game came out, both me and my best friend bought the game and played it on launch. We both still play to this day.
Oh yeah. How the fuck did you get up here already?
The jump pad.
Oh, you know what? That's fair.
But one thing that Night Reign tweaked compared to the base game was that a lot of legendary weapons had special charge attacks. For example, America's Hammer cracks the ground similar to the Ash of War, and the Sacred Relic's sword sent out a blade of light. This reminded me of weapons in the base game like the Wing of Estelle and Rune's Greatsword that both has special charge attacks, and also weapons like the Giant's Crusher, whose charge attack adds extra flavor to an already versatile weapon. Because of the charge attacks on some of these weapons, they really stuck to me as some of my favorite weapons of all time. And because of that, I wanted to not only beat Elden Ring, but all 15 Remembrance bosses in the base game, while also showcasing some of my favorite weapons and also some weapons that I think are just really neat. Speaking of neat, aside from the Rune's Greatsword and the Wing of Estelle, a few weapons that I knew I wanted to use in this run were the Meteoric Oreblade, the Urumi, and the Dark Moon Greatsword, because all these weapons have unique charge attacks. And because most of these weapons mainly scale with either intelligence or dexterity, I chose the Prisoner as my starting class to make respecting my character easier, which would eventually bite me in the ass, but we'll get to that later. After acquiring my
Jeep Grand Cherokee,
I went to acquire some items that we'll use for the rest of the run. I got Determination for an extra 60% damage to my next attack, and before you ask, no, I never got Royal Knight's Resolve. I then acquired the Wondrous Physic and the Crystal Tier we'll be using for the rest of the run, despite Cracked Tier for an extra 15% extra damage to our charge attacks. I then acquired the Axe Talisman for an additional 10% to our charge attacks. I then got both halves of the Dectus Medallion, the Morningstar on the way to Weeping for flask upgrades, totally didn't get 360 no scope, got the Radagon Source Seal, and then used the Morningstar to kill a Grail. And yes, it took
forever, 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 forever.
I then went to acquire the first weapon we'll be using, the Meteoric Oreblade. The Meteoric Oreblade has this really cool downward slash that is actually a strength intelligence weapon rather than a dexterity intelligence weapon like the Moonville Katana. And it also does 20% extra damage to gravity type enemies, so you know I totally did not use it against Estelle. And now it's time to take out Margit and Godric. After killing Godric without dying a single time, I would rate the charge attack on this weapon an 8 out of 10. It's pretty quick, does good stance damage, and it lunges you forward, allowing you to have better spacing in a boss fight. Also, comment down below if I should cosplay Sokka from Avatar and beat the entire game with just a Meteoric Oreblade. Now that we have our first Great Rune, it's time to make our way to Liurnia, where I acquire the Academy Glintstone Key after doing some parkour. I then acquired the Jellyfish Shield and the Urumi, where I do not die to gravity. Twice. I then got the Iron Whetstone Blade to give the Urumi the King Infinity, and then gathered some upgraded materials for it. Side note, I wanted to use the Jellyfish Shield and Determination in tandem because in a previous patch you could use the skill Contagious Fury and then two-hand your main weapon and keep the buff. But in patch 1.09.1, they patched this out. After getting played with like a chew toy, fuck Moongrum. it was time to wake the single mother. Not like that, you freak. Now that the single mother is satisfied, I mean defeated, no pun intended, it's time to start Ronnie's quest line and gather some materials and important items and weapons we'll be using for the rest of the run. After defeating Loretta first try, I talked to Ronnie, did not die to a Sanguine Noble, killed Gilka to get the ritual sword talisman, and then killed the Crystallian for the smithing Bellberg 1, where I totally did not take the crit and I have to start over because my ADHD won't let me contain a single memory and fucks my brain till I'm a hot dog through a hallway. I then acquired the smithing Bellberg 2, spent 3 to 5 business days trying to find the fucking scare beetle for Cragblade, and now it's time to battle the Elden Chet. After defeating the Elden Chet, totally first try, Vike actually wasn't too bad. And no, I'm not saying that just because he's hot. I get the magic, holy, and lightning shrouding cracked here from the Erdtree avatar, and then realize why the jellyfish shield was a bad idea, and why the Yurumi low-key sucks while fighting the Draconic Tree Sentinel. You see, while on paper the Yurumi does good damage, it's also painfully slow, and you have to either be in a position where you can utilize the range of the Yurumi and not get hit while attacking, or you have to wait until you know for a fact you have the chance to get a fully charged attack in. And it's almost not even worth doing an uncharged heavy attack because it's almost equally as slow. Also, because they patched out the ability to two-hand the weapon after using Contagious Fury, the only way to benefit from both the Jellyfish Shield and Determination is to two-hand the Yurumi, use Determination, which lasts 10 seconds, one-hand the Yurumi, use Contagious Fury, which lasts 30 seconds because the Great Shield skill takes priority over the weapon skill, which means now I have less than 10 seconds to use Determination on a charge attack, and if I want to use Determination again, I have to two-hand it, which means I will lose the Contagious Fury buff, which ends up being an insufferably inconvenient cycle of stacking buffs just to get a single fucking hit. So I dumped the Jellyfish Shield faster than my first decks dumped me. And now I'd rate the charge attack on the Yurumi a 5 out of 10. It does decent damage, and it does multiple hits, which means you could theoretically pair it with the Wing Sword insignias, but it's simply too slow, and I find that I rarely am able to utilize the massive range on this weapon. Anyways, if you're having trouble trying to fight the Misbegotten Crucible duo talk like I did, just talk to Jiren, and the Fog Gate should appear, and now we have the Ruins Greatsword. Also, comment down below what challenge run you'd like to see me do next. After killing myself, after removing some ribs. I got the Finger Slayer blade for my wife. She just doesn't know we're married yet. Killed an Anal Bee, got the Wing of Estelle, acquired the Wing Sword insignia, killed Bernal for his armor, and then got rage baited by a gargoyle. And now it was time to fight Golden Godfrey and Morgott. that we have the rolled medallion, it's time to get back to marrying my wife. I killed the evil furry, which was actually a challenge since I can't just backstab him into oblivion, trudge through Asmongold's bathwater, goth girls when they wake up in the morning, kill a bigger anal bead, actually first try, realize I can't get magic scorpion charm because I progressed the marriage, I mean the quest line too far, got married where she gifted me her sword, not like that, although I totally let her respec into Int to use the sword my wife gifted me, and before we move on, I'd rate the charge attack on the wing of Estelle a 9 out of 10. The fully charged attack not only hits twice, but it sends out 2 beams of light that give this charge attack extra damage. And although the fully charged attack does take a while, the uncharged attack still sends a beam of light out and is lightning fast. I would give it a 10 out of 10 since this is one of my favorite weapons of all time, but there are charge attacks that I think are better. And now it's time to fight the state of Alaska. I took on Australia, this will be a piece of cake, especially since everyone is so short compared to me, just like in real life. Next, I slimed the Black Blade Kindred, killed Jabari for his drip. I'm the frozen samurai. I'll freeze your balls off. Beat Commander Nile, also actually first try. Told you this would be easy. There was a sight of grace here the entire time? Robbed a homeless man for his change, told the man to do a flip. He didn't. Kinda disappointed. Got Moog Shackle, and now it's time to kill the Moog Lester, that way we can go to My lawyer has informed me not to finish that joke. Go to the DLC for the two-handed swords talisman.
What do you mean he was charmed? So he was actually innocent, and it was Mikora the whole time? Fuck.
After falsely accusing the period worshipper, I very discreetly acquired the two-handed sword talisman. Totally didn't die on the way there, by the way. I acquired the fire scorpion charm for an extra 12% increase to fire damage, which will come into play later. Killed the magma worm, acquired the go, Alexander. And now it's time to fight the guy that peaked in middle school when he was taller than everybody else. And no, it's totally, most definitely not personal. Also, I'm talking about somebody that bullied me, not myself, just to clarify. I'd rate the charge attack on the Darkwood Greatsword a 10 out of 10. It comes out pretty quick, does amazing damage, especially when you use the Ash of War to imbue the weapon for extra damage. After going full Chihuahua mode, I scaled the Carrion Study Hall and acquired the Stargazer Talisman for an extra 5 points in Int and the Curse Mark of Death. Acquired the Giant's Crusher and the Ritual Shield Talisman. I still don't know why I didn't get this sooner. Fought every best friend duel, acquired new drip.
New card. What do you think?
Killed a Putrid Avatar for the Stone Barb Correct here for an extra 30% stance damage. Fuck Grail. Oh my god, dragon fights in this game are so fucking ass. You can lock under the head, but they're always moving their fucking heads, so you either can't hit them or can't see what the fuck is happening, so you gotta lock under the leg, but then they move the leg, and he anyways got new drip again.
Let's see Paul Allen's card.
Killed another Putrid Avatar for the Fire Shrouding Cracked here for an additional 20% increase to fire damage. Slimed the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and now it's time to kill the Aura Farming Furry. fuck Gideon. Oh my god, I fucking cannot with goddamn NPC fights. Oh my god, and Gideon specifically is such a piece of shit. He dodges away, he fucking heals, and oh my god, he won't stand still. He keeps dodging my attacks, and then I can't fucking get any spacing, and oh my... Anyways, I agreed to charge attack on the Rune's Great Sword a 9 out of 10. The charge attack does amazing damage, especially with the gravity spikes that come out of the ground, but it's just not as good as weapons like the Dark Rune's Great Sword, whose heavy attack rivals its damage, but just swings faster. After defeating the first Elden Lord, it was time to prepare the main weapon I'd be using for the rest of the run. Mostly. That weapon being the Giant's Crusher, mainly because the charge attack flip is really funny to me, but also because it has the highest DPS out of any strength weapon or heavy infused weapon in the entire game. Which reminds me, remember when I said I chose the Prisoner as my starting class and it kind of bit me in the ass? Well, that's because now I'm using a pure strength scaling weapon, and now I have stats in both dexterity and intelligence that I'm not using. It's not that big of a deal. I'm at the point in the game where level-wise, I have plenty of strength and decent vigor, but it was kind of frustrating that my final build of the game wasn't fully optimized. The only things missing were the Smithing Bell Bearing 3 and the Red Hot Wet Blade, and now it's time to fight the final boss. But we're not done here yet. At about this time, I decided to beat all 15 Remembrance bosses, and after getting to the Howling Tree, after getting past those stupid-ass paraplegic archers, killing Loretta and having a skill issue against Melania because I kept whiffing my attacks, here was the plan for the rest of the run. I would use the Giant's Crusher against Blasivisax, get Sacred Blade for my Giant's Crusher, and imbue it with Holy against the Deer, which, after consulting the wiki, I didn't need to do, but whatever. Acquire the Serpent Hunter and bully my least favorite boss of the game, and then defeat Dia's champions and Ledge Dragon Vorticex. Now, roll the boss montage. quick, for Fia's champions, I use Barbaric Roar on a great sword because of the unique charge attack it gives your weapon. I also tried to use it against Fortisax with a Giant's Crusher, but it didn't work, so I just used the default charge attack. Melania, Blade of Miquella. By far, the biggest challenge of this playthrough, taking me over an hour to defeat her of this over 30-hour long playthrough. While you watched me die over and over again in the background, allow me to explain all the strategies I used before finding the one that really worked for me. At first I used a Giant's Crusher, which didn't work, but it comes back into play later. The reason why it wasn't working for me was because every time I went for a charge attack, she would dodge out of the way, and I was consistently missing my attacks, so I switched to the Iron Bar. Also, side note, I can't find when I acquired the balls, even after coming through 30 hours of footage, and it doesn't really matter when I get them because this is the only instance in which I use them. Anyways, the balls eventually got ditched as well because of the same but opposite issue. The balls have a really short range, which means I often miss my attacks even though I'm seemingly right next to her. The next weapon I used was the Serpent Hunter, and it showed promise. It did good stance damage, had good range, and a wide arc that made it almost impossible for her to just sidestep it. But the only issue was Waterfowl Dance. Found that if I overcommitted with the running heavy or the charged heavy, I had almost no chance of escaping Waterfowl, especially the running heavy, which was my best consistent chance of guaranteed damage that really only resulted in my death if she did Waterfowl or the clone attack. And then, I had an epiphany. The Giant's Crusher has even better range than the Serpent Hunter. I just had to adapt my playing style, getting to correct spacing and squashing her like a bug. And it worked. I was consistently able to get to phase 2, because in phase 1, she slowly walks around giving you the perfect opportunity to land charge attacks directly on her noggin. Phase 2 was mostly the same. Only thing I needed to do was to adjust my timing if she was running at me, allowing for constant windows of damage. Only thing in my way now was my own skill. I may know defeat. We might be very well acquainted, but today, Melania, you will be bombed. Wait, not like that! Oh my god. Ah, dear fucking Christ. You can't hear my fucking heart right now, but it is pumping. Thump, 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 thump. Oh my fucking god. My heart dropped. Oh my god. I thought, oh my god. I have such a fucking headache from how high my fucking cortisol is right now. Oh my god. I'm gonna claim what's fucking mine. I'm gonna claim what's mine. It's mine. Tanalor is mine. Oh my god. Ah. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Finally, I'd like to rate the Giant's Crusher Charge Attack a 10 out of 10. I was gonna give it a 9 out of 10, but the sheer range on this weapon and raw damage makes up for its fairly slow attack time, making it a top tier pick and definitely one of my favorite weapons in this run. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've never written a scripted video before, and it took a lot of effort to make. I spent like at least 3 days on the fucking script alone, and I actually have this part scripted, but I want this to be like, this part of the video to be genuine. It would genuinely mean the world to me if you could like the video and subscribe. It's really the only way, aside from commenting of course, for me to know if you enjoyed the video and if you liked it. I'm kind of sad with how short the video is going to be because this script is like 5 pages long and I've only been recording for like half an hour. I was really hoping it would be a little bit longer, but it's fine. Anyways, if you have any critiques, any feedback, it would genuinely mean the world to me if you could comment it down below. Also, if this video gets 20 likes, I'll beat the DLC and all the remembrances with only charge attacks. Anyways, I will hopefully see you in the next video. Goodbye.